أبناء وطني العزيز، كم نحن أحوج ما نكون إلى الحيطة والحذر وأخذ الدروس والعبر. إن استقرار البلاد واستكمال نهضتها وتعزيز مكانتها يتطلب منا كقيادة سياسية للدولة أن نقف وقفة تأمل ومصارحة ومراجعة للنفس، تجسد الحرص على الالتزام بوحدتنا الوطنية وعدم التفريط أو المساس بها. فقد قررنا اللجوء إلى الشعب باعتباره المصير والامتداد والبقاء والوجود، ليقوم بنفسه بإعادة تصحيح مسار المشهد السياسي. إننا لن نتدخل في اختيارات الشعب لممثليه، ولن نتدخل كذلك في اختيارات مجلس الأمة القادم في اختيار رئيسه، ليكون المجلس سيد قراراته. ونأمل منكم أن لا يكون الاختيار أساسه التعصب للطائفة أو للقبلية أو للفئة على حساب الوطن. فالكويت لم تكن ولن تكون لأحد بعينه، بل هي وطن الجميع. ونناشدكم أبناء وطننا العزيز ألا تضيعوا فرصة تصحيح مسار المشاركة الوطنية حتى لا نعود إلى ما كنا عليه. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
A very good morning and welcome to the 2022 National Assembly election coverage for this year. This coverage is coming to you live from Kuwait Television, specifically from the studios of the news and political programs at the Ministry of Information, both in English and Arabic, all day long. My colleague Badriya Al-Saleh and I, Yusuf Ibrahim, will be taking you through the early morning hours of this democratic process, guaranteed to us by the Kuwaiti Constitution, and which Kuwaiti citizens have continued to enjoy since the establishment of the Constitution back in 1962. Badriya, good morning to you.
Good morning, Yusuf, and good morning to our viewers. Today we are at a new beginning for a new phase under the slogan of correcting the course by taking a democratic step to a new parliament that expresses the will of the Kuwaiti people. Today, Kuwaiti men and women will head to polling stations around the country to cast their votes for the person they wish to represent them at the National Assembly. More in this report.
High transparency and clarity reflect the conditions of the stage the country is going through. The speech delivered by His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Mish'al Ahmed Al Jaber Sabah called on Kuwaitis to an active national participation in the National Assembly election to succeed in the process of correcting the path of the political scene and bringing Kuwait to the aspirations of its people. The political leadership is keen on achieving a new parliament with a high level of responsibility through transparent and flawless elections, confirming that the only way to amend the roadmap is the responsible participation of the people of Kuwait by electing the most qualified and who is able to take responsibility. Participation in the elections represents an important turning point and a consolidation of democracy which the people of Kuwait practiced decades ago, which reflects the civilization of Kuwait and make Kuwait the first winner in this democratic scene. The Kuwaiti people always prove in every democratic entitlement that they are capable of overcoming all challenges in the service and love of Kuwait to raise its flag high under the wise leadership of His Highness the Emir Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Sabah and His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah.
أننا نطلب من الجميع إدراك حجم المسؤولية الوطنية الملقاة على عاتقكم في المشاركة الإيجابية في عملية الانتخابات، والحرص كل الحرص على اختيار القوي الأمين المؤمن بربه ثم وطنه، والذي يضع مصلحة الكويت وشعبها فوق كل اعتبار.
The test of selection. Everyone is a winner. Kuwait is first, foremost, and the basis.
Welcome back to our coverage of the 2022 National Assembly elections, coming to you live from Kuwait Television studio at the Ministry of Information. Before we head to Badriya, I'd like to say something that today is an amazing day and we're all excited and thrilled. We're going to go to the other studio with Badriya.
Thank you, Yusuf. Yes, today's live coverage attempts to highlight the democratic exercise Kuwaiti citizens enjoy, where Kuwaitis get to play their pivotal role in the democratic process to help shape a better future for our beloved country. Let's now touch base with our correspondents who've been stationed since early this morning at different ballot stations around the country. I think first we're going to touch base with Saad Al-Sharida in the 1st constituency. Good morning, Saad. Tell us a bit about the turnout in these early hours at your constituency.
So far, the election process has just started, and there isn't much of a long queues, and most of the people that I see are elderly. But everything seems to be very efficient and orderly fashion. Voters and they're cooperating with all officials in the various ministries and institutions to allow a smooth and easy process for people, for everyone who is involved in the elections. As you know, I'm here in the Al-Maghira bin Nawfal school, and I'd like to give a special thanks for the Ministry of Education, which has allocated and prepared schools and provided staff to maintain and facilitate available the facilities available for voters and officials alike. In each school, I can see ambulance clinics and paramedics provided by the Ministry of Health in case of any health emergency and to accommodate those special needs and elderly. And I'd like to mention that this is the first elections that doesn't have any COVID-19 restrictions, and I'm very excited about that. Meanwhile, I can see officials and judges from the Ministry of Justice, and they to maintain the main electoral committees around the country and the long-standing duties and preserving the integrity of the elections. So far, right now, there isn't much going on as the door just opened, but I can see I'd like to give the gratitude for the Ministry of Interior, which has exerted all efforts in terms of personnel and mechanism available to the ministry to ensure and preserve the security and smooth flowing process in the elections. I can see also that Kuwait Fire Force has also provided its service in case of any accidents and emergencies throughout the democratic process. They have allocated their own personnel across the schools all over the country to provide assistance to the commanding officials. As I was inside earlier, I also saw many volunteers organized by the Public Youth Authority to partake and facilitate the undertaking of the day. The involvement of the young people is very promising, as it shows the inclusion of the younger generations, displaying their keenness to actively participate in the running and functioning of the nations and society. What I can see is the hope of the future when they are of the future when they are the one to lead the democratic process, and they will gather some wisdom and experiences for the future. And that's most what I can say right now.
Thank you, Saad, Thank you, Saad, for that update. Look forward to hearing what else you have to tell us throughout the day. Up next, we are moving to the second constituency, where our correspondent Sindus Al-Faraj is stationed. Good morning, Sindus. Could you tell us?
Good morning, Badriya.
Tell us a bit about the turnout at your constituency.
First of all, good morning to those lovely viewers who are tuning in with us live right now. Well, the moment that all Kuwaiti men and women are waiting for has finally come. Is the day to express your freedom of choice, where everyone is so excited to participate in this huge event that requires your cast, your vote, and choose a suitable candidate for the National Assembly who you believe has the competence, honorable, trustworthy leader that destined to lead Kuwait to a better future. So I'm reporting to you live from the second constituency on Ma'qal Sadia High School for Girls, located in Jabal Ahmed area. I'm here on the spot. The voting process started at 8 o'clock sharp and will proceed till the door closes at 8 p.m. Actually, there were people are lining up well before it's 8 o'clock sharp. This is the positive spirit we're looking for. So, Badriya, let me give you the 3D view on what's going on. Well, everything is going smooth, and it's too early to give you the number of votes, but I'll keep you updated later on. But speaking of numbers, I can tell you the second constituency, which I'm right now, has 48 candidates competing to win the votes of 90,478 eligible voters, whom 44,343 men and 46,135 women. We wish them all the best. And we have governing bodies with us here on my left are the Ministry of Interior and Ministry of Justice to keep an eye and make sure that the voting process is going according to rules and regulations. And also we have Ministry of Health that set up a provisional medical staff and ambulances which have already been assigned for the polling stations in case of an emergency, like for elderly people, God forbid, if something unexpected happens, they're there to help. And also here with us, Kuwait Fire Force to secure the place and Red Cross Society and their volunteers to help out. And we have the Ministry of Information, which is us, to give you the full coverage of this amazing event from A to Z. And we wish everyone the best.
Thank you so much, Sindus, for that update. We'll look forward to hearing back from you later on in the day. Now we'll move to Basma Al-Awadi, who's stationed in the third constituency. Basma, good morning.
Good morning, Badriya.
How's the turnout at your constituency so far?
Well, it's the beginning of the morning. So far it's slow, but hopefully by the end of the day it will get better. And I've been here since 7 a.m. and main government roles were here, both Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Interior, supporting roles as well, including us, the Ministry of Health, Information. And so, hello?
You still there?
Hello, yes. So, yeah, as for us, the Ministry of Information, we're broadcasting this election from the minute the gates were open until the announcement of the results. We're putting all our efforts and capitalizing on all available tools to stream the democratic process of correcting the past. That's the theme for this year, and that's why we're here. And of course, we'll be live today all day recording and covering this event. And people can watch us on KTV1 for Arabic viewers and KTV2, us of course, and Kuwait radio station as well, both in Arabic and English.
Thank you so much, Basma. We were going to take a quick break, but be sure to stay tuned as we keep you up to date throughout the live coverage of this parliamentary election.
National Assembly Elections 2022, a constitutional entitlement and a national duty for preserving democratic gains and correcting the course. The people are the ones who choose. They are the ones who redraw the political scene. A national phase in which everyone unites for the sake of the homeland. National Assembly Elections 2022. Correcting the course.
Welcome back to our live coverage of the 2022 Parliament elections. For our viewers who are just tuning in, we are checking in with our correspondents around the country who are giving us live updates from their different constituencies. With that being said, we move on now to the 4th constituency where our correspondent Mariam Al-Duwahi is stationed. Good morning, Mariam.
Good morning, dear. Right now we are at the 4th constituency in Jaha Governorate at Al-Waha Primary School for Girls and polling station for men. The polling stations just opened on all over Kuwait at 8 a.m. to start the 18th elections in Kuwait democratic history. 310 candidates are running for 15 seats in the next 17th legislative term, with high numbers for female candidates since 2009. The turnout started good, actually, and modest, as expecting the turnout to be higher in the upcoming hours. Mostly the elderly came to cast their votes. Police and fire forces succeeded in securing the location to facilitate the process without any incidents. The general atmosphere is positive and optimistic, as the public is hoping for changes in the coming future. This is the overall look, and also there are the volunteers who are giving and providing assistance to police and fire forces for the elderly and in need. The general atmosphere, as I said, is good and hoping for better. That's from me for now. We will keep you updated in case of any upcomings or any visits from any higher officials.
Thank you, Mariam, so much for that update. Last but not least is our correspondent, Mohammed Al-Boushi, who's stationed in the 5th constituency. Good morning, Mohammed.
Good morning.
How's the turnout at the 5th constituency currently?
Now, as for the election process, it's going it's been long queues from the opening to 8 a.m. And the lines are organized for the voters, and everything is running smooth. So in each school, the Ministry of Health also has provided ambulances, clinics, and paramedics, as I see in front of me. And now, currently, I'm at Ayub Hussein Ayub High School at the 5th constituency. So everything is running smooth. And also, we can notice also the Kuwait Fire Forces. They are providing services in case of any accidents or emergency throughout this democratic race, of course. And everything is at the same, the correct place and allocated at their own personnel across all the schools here.
Thank you to all our correspondents in the first 5 constituencies for that update.
بسم الله العلي القدير يفتتح الآن أعمال المجلس التأسيسي لدولة الكويت المستقلة.
إننا نعيش الآن في بلادنا نهضة شاملة لم يسبق لها مثيل.
إنني من على هذا المنبر أوجه بالنيابة عنكم تحية وتقدير واحترام لأهلنا في الكويت
حتى نواصل العمل الذي لا يتوقف لخدمة الكويت العزيزة.
لقد أكدت بأنني من يحمي الدستور ولن أسمح بالمساس به.
مخلصين للعمل الجاد لخير ورفعة الكويت وأهلها الأوفياء.
اختيار القوي الأمين الذي يضع مصلحة الكويت وشعبها فوق كل اعتبار.
The Ministry of Information provided its full efforts for the National Assembly elections for the year 2022 to monitor and broadcast the democratic process through the latest technology to showcase the democratic advancement of Kuwait to the local and global region. More in the Ministry of Information efforts and the following report.
Preparations in the Kuwaiti Ministry of Information are set in place for the National Assembly elections 2022 to monitor and broadcast democratic process through electronic platforms and digital applications for the Ministry of Information that keep pace with the local event. The Kuwaiti Ministry of Information is hosting more than 80 media professionals from outside Kuwait in the media center. The Ministry of Information stated that the ministry prepared a media center that will be available to all media professionals to follow up on the details of the electoral event, including equipment and electoral workshops provided by specialists. The Ministry of Information also confirmed that the media center will be open to facilitate the work of media professionals, noting that the equipment includes all sectors in the Ministry of Information to ensure the success of the democratic process through television, radio, and electronic platforms. Moreover, the Ministry of Information assigned more than 1,200 delegates from the Ministry of Information to underwent training and introductory courses on modern technical systems for the success of the electoral process in the media, in a manner befitting the status of the state of Kuwait on the map of the democratic countries. The Ministry of Information also stated that preparations to cover the 2022 elections by harnessing all human and technical efforts to make the electoral process success by keeping pace with the technical requirements for the speed and accuracy of transmitting audio and video results. The statement added that arrangements are made to ensure comprehensive and detailed coverage of the democratic event in the electoral districts through a network of correspondents, 5 external studios, and a central studio for television coverage. The Ministry of Information is keen to always provide delegates and trainees a chance to train the use of the latest technological applications, modern technologies, and workflow methods professionally. It is emphasized that the vital role of delegates in the success of the television coverage for the National Assembly elections 2022 is to keep an eye on the process of the elections, such as counting the votes before and after the closing of the polls, until the adoption and announcement of the final results by the local authorities.
أننا نطلب من الجميع إدراك حجم المسؤولية الوطنية الملقاة على عاتقكم في المشاركة الإيجابية في عملية الانتخابات، والحرص كل الحرص على اختيار القوي الأمين المؤمن بربه ثم وطنه، والذي يضع مصلحة الكويت وشعبها فوق كل اعتبار.
The test of selection. Everyone is a winner. Kuwait is first, foremost, and the basis.
Well, we are back, and thank you once again for tuning here with us this morning for the latest updates on the National Assembly for the elections for the year 2022 political process. We are now joined by a special guest, a professor to me, Dr. Hussein Murad, Head of Mass Communication Department at Kuwait University. Good morning, Dr. Hussein.
Good morning to you and to all the viewers, and thanks you for having me.
Dr. Hussein, thanks for being on the set here with us this morning. We have a few questions for you, and by you joining us, we'd like for you to answer them. Dr. Hussein, for my first question, I want to ask you about the importance of media for the democratic parliamentary life.
Well, in terms of media controls our lives. Sure. So starting from infancy up to our adulthood. What we don't know about that, from the time we hold a tablet or make a phone call or look at a newsprint, that's where we have to read the text between that media. Whether does it apply to me? Do I understand what's within those messages? So it plays a major role, especially into democratic countries. It's the backbone of any democratic nation. It's very important, and it's very important that media to be honest, fair, True. And unbiased. So these are the three things that the pillars for the media. Unfortunately, we don't see that in most of the media platforms or outlets that around the world. So it's really hard to pick which one is the right one. For here in Kuwait, thank God, it's mainly it's the Ministry of Information that we will get our information on all the needed information about whether the news or for the election right now for the candidates.
That's true. Doctor, also my second question for you for this morning, what are the important steps for building positive media in Kuwait's National Democratic and Development March, since that's our main topic for this morning?
Well, actually, when it comes to developing a positive media, in Kuwait, we're known since the 1960s that we have a pretty good media. And especially with the law of privatization in 2004, we boosted our different media outlets. The thing is, we have to regulate what kind of media that broadcasts those kind of news. So in terms of knowing or having a positive media, we cannot control whether it's positive or how positive. It comes to an effect, whether it's limited effect, powerful effect, or mediated effect. So in Kuwait, the law of regulation, that's very important. Also, having the source and reliable sources and credibility through those media outlets is very important. We're into the new technology, so we have a vast amount of information, news that we don't know whether it's right or wrong.
That's true. So it's all about the process of filtering it, and the Ministry of Information is here to do that for everyone living here in Kuwait.
Yes, and unbiasedly. That's very important. Unbiasedly, in order to have your credibility. Because when it comes to credibility, once I announce a certain information or a certain news, and there was a misinformation, you lose your audience.
Credibility.
Credibility is gone. So you need to build that, all these years of credibility within your audience. You have to go and rebuild it again.
It's a very, very, very important connection between the media and a person. It's just like someone living at home with their parents since birth all the way until adult. What they tell them is what they believe.
It's their mentor in a way, because normally you listen to your family, you listen to your elders. Also, you get your information from these sources. So credibility is very important in order to have a certain perception or a certain idea about what's going on into different situations or different topics.
Well, back again to the role of media, but this time in promoting cooperation between both legislative and executive authorities. If you can tell me more about this.
Well, the media and communication is the backbone for everything. So in order to have a communication, there's no life without any communication. So we have to develop that through different talks, through understanding each other, understanding the point of view, whether it's different than yours. We have to reach a certain comfort zone for both of us, both of the parties, in order to have a mutual understanding. That's where the democratic media and the democratic countries reaches out. It's very important from time to time to sit. It's okay to have a different point of view. When it comes to media, we don't escalate things, which normally we don't see that in different other media outlets. They like to escalate because that's their agenda. But when it comes to a positive media, a media that it's very good and it wants to boost and enhance the country for prosperous life, we have to reach that point. We have to de-escalate and as well see the similarities between those two, legislative and the other one points, in order to reach out a mutual understanding to go on.
Well, thank you for clarifying that point. Before we get back to our discussions, I'd like to get back to my colleague Badria for a phone call.
Thank you, Yusuf. As may have been mentioned, I'm really happy to say joining us now on the phone is Mazen Al-Ansari, Assistant Undersecretary for the Foreign Media Affairs in the Ministry of Information. Good morning, Mazen.
Hi, good morning, Badria. How are you early this morning?
Good, thank you. Can you please tell us about the Ministry of Information's preparations and plans for covering the parliamentary elections?
Sure. How much time do I have, Badria? I mean, I could probably talk for an hour. How much time do you need?
You got 5 minutes, Mazen.
Okay. So let's start by talking about the Ministry of Information, through all its sectors, the news sector, television, radio, new media, foreign media, press and publications, as well as tourism and engineering, are all working around the clock in preparation for this important day titled Elections 2022. But more importantly, I think what we need to understand from this extensive, laborious, and sometimes hectic work, the coverage is the key message of awareness that is being sent to the Kuwaiti citizens. The message of awareness of how important these elections are for the future of Kuwait, for achieving the country's aspired developmental goals, and to, of course, help achieve its future vision. So this message of awareness is intended to encourage citizens to go out there and to vote for the person they see most qualified, most fit for the job of steering the country forward. There is no longer any excuse not to vote. The new election law now allows citizens over the age of 21 to vote, men and women, without having to pre-register. All you need to do is to have to go with your own civil ID and your nationality document, and you can vote. So in answer to your question, yes, all sectors are busy, each with its objective. But really, I think the key objective from all of this work, the around-the-clock coverage, is meant to make people aware of how important the Kuwaiti democratic practice is, to make them aware of how important it is to go out there and to vote. And we here at the Ministry will provide the public with up-to-date, minute-by-minute coverage of the National Assembly election results. Furthermore, the Ministry's coverage is comprehensive and transparent. Transparency is an important objective, and this is something we are achieving through our extensive coverage and through the modern technology that we're using, such as the QR code, to receive minute-by-minute updates on the candidates' vote counts. As you know, our Constitution was written back in 1961, followed by the first National Assembly elections in 1962. So democracy in Kuwait is about 60 years old. So the Ministry, which provides the coverage through its different sectors, has had lots of experience in this field. As you know, we've had several elections, which is also being showcased through some of the programs that have been broadcast through the different channels. I believe you had the speech of His Highness the Emir that was broadcast, that was delivered by His Highness the Crown Prince earlier in this segment. The Ministry has also invited numerous politicians and specialists in the field of electoral law, transparency, women's rights, youth empowerment, and other important socio-economic fields to shed light on this important democratic process and where it is taking us in the future. So in short, yes, we are all doing our job at the Ministry to cover the 2022 elections to the best of our abilities, but awareness is the key message that we hope reaches out to the public, the message of how important it is to go out and to vote.
Mazen, you have a very unique position. I know you know a lot about the Media Center. Could you tell us a bit about its establishment and the role it plays in today's affairs?
Yes, this is my baby, as you say. It's something that we've been working on for the past month and a half. So the Media Center has been organized by the Ministry of Information and specifically by the foreign media sector to provide a working environment for the foreign media representatives that have been invited from all corners of the world to witness and to cover the 2022 National Assembly elections. The foreign media sector includes 4 departments that cover the 5 continents of the world. Among the objectives of the foreign media sector is to gain friendship and camaraderie with media representatives from around the world. So we have selected a number of employees, young men and women, from the foreign media sector to operate the center and to provide assistance to the foreign media representatives, the international media that have been invited to cover the elections. The media center is being operated with the support of employees from the television, news, tourism, and also the new media sectors. The media center comprises a large hall, a well-designed large hall at one of our hotels here in Kuwait. The center has been specifically designed to provide all the necessary tools to help the international media do their work to cover the elections in the most comprehensive way possible. Also, a special studio has been built inside the media center to provide a location for interviews and for discussion panels with our international guests. The foreign media sector has, in fact, we have invited, in fact, about 80 media representatives from all over the world to cover this year's election. Our friends and colleagues continue to do their job to cover the democratic process in Kuwait, whereby they will be visiting some of the schools where voting is taking place. Actually, I haven't gone to vote. I'll be doing that immediately after this program. They're going out there to witness, the international media, to witness firsthand, up and close, how democracy is being practiced in Kuwait. Among the important locations they visited earlier that we had scheduled for them to visit was the National Assembly Building.
Assistant Undersecretary for Foreign Media Affairs at the Ministry of Information, Mazen Ansari, so good to have you with us. Thank you.
The media is considered the first and direct influencer on the awareness of people and societies as well. The media bears a great responsibility to convey the truth and information transparently without being shrouded in ambiguity and not overshadowed by the opposition, so as not to deviate from its ideal image before the public. Let's take a look at the following report.
Various media outlets and news services locally and internationally are actively playing their role in conveying the true image of the Kuwaiti democratic experience with utmost professionalism and credibility, while ensuring obedience by laws governing the coverage of the parliamentary elections. The media is considered one of the primary and direct influences in people's awareness and the lives of individuals and communities, as bears the responsibility to impart information transparently and unbiasedly. The great role of the media in the 2022 elections has led to the media being one of the pillars of the democratic process. The most prominent role played by the media can be summarized in educating voters about their democratic rights, covering and publishing electoral campaign, as well as providing an opportunity for candidates to present their electoral programs and goals. Mass media and social platforms also gives voters the opportunity to communicate and discuss candidates to help citizens make the appropriate choices. Kuwait's media in particular is up to date with the current technological trends that facilitates transmitting the information to the audience effectively. As such, printed election advertisements seem to be on the decline, especially during the current campaign for the 2022 National Assembly elections in the country.
باسم الله العلي القدير يفتتح الآن أعمال المجلس التأسيسي لدولة الكويت المستقلة.
إننا نعيش الآن في بلادنا نهضة شاملة لم يسبق لها مثيل.
إنني من على هذا المنبر أوجه بالنيابة عنكم تحية وتقدير واحترام لأهلنا في الكويت
حتى نواصل العمل الذي لا يتوقف لخدمة الكويت العزيزة.
لقد تأكدت بأنني من يحمي الدستور ولن أسمح بالمساس به.
مخلصين للعمل الجاد
لخير ورفعة الكويت وأهلها الأوفياء.
اختيار القوي الأمين الذي يضع مصلحة الكويت وشعبها فوق كل اعتبار.
After such an informative report, for more on the influence of media on the electoral process, our guest, Dr. Hussein Murad, head of Mass Communication Department in Kuwait University, is here with us to talk more about the media and the National Assembly election. Dr. Hussein, we were discussing a few matters here, especially about what voters need to know from the media. If you could tell us more in brief and in depth as well.
Well, when it comes to media, right now or nowadays that we live in a very saturated information, especially with the social media as well as the traditional media. So in order for the voters to know what's going on, they need to understand where to go. That's the number one in terms of choosing the right media outlets, which is normally the Ministry of Information, especially that built its credibility for the past few years, especially with the previous electoral elections that won before, built its credibility through the right numbers that it was being shown different than the other news outlets or the media platforms. The other very important part for the voters to know about is searching for the right, what's the campaign of the candidates, such as the vision, their mission, what's their plan for the next 4 years of their
agenda.
Exactly. So that's the most important thing. Though it's hidden within lots and very different information, that's why we need to project those kind of information for the voters from time to time and continuously through the day.
That's what I want to ask. What are the measures that should be taken to fight these false information and distortion of facts through media outlets?
Well, rumors, it's everywhere. I can recall such an incident between into the National Democratic Party that was between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. At that time, they were in a tie, 50-50. So when they came for their voting, most of the Bernie Sanders supporters, they didn't go because they thought at that time, most of the outlets, they said, well, she's a winner. So they took that for granted, especially that, this is a very credible source, so they didn't go, and that's where she lost. So in that term, false information, misinformation, it's everywhere, especially rumors, though. We cannot get rid of it, but we can lessen it for its minimum. That's through certain things or certain measurements, I would say. From the voters' part or the public part, it's one thing that they have to have a media literacy, and that's very important. And as His Highness Crown Prince said that when it comes to correct the course or the course correction, he actually added a few things within that message. It's that you as a voter, Kuwaiti citizens, you have to be aware, you have to know which kind of media outlet to go to, which is normally the Ministry of Information and Kuwait TV and radio.
That's true. I want to talk about the most essential modern digital media that's being used in the media channels currently.
They use everything when it comes to
I want to know everything. That's what I need to know.
It depends on a certain country. So for example, here in Kuwait, most of the used media outlets now, it's the social media, the platform. So they would go to Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. That's the basic. But they reach also beyond that. So they go to a different platform, such as Facebook. Maybe we think that it's not used, but one of the research that I've done a couple years ago, it was about what's the most used outlet and a platform for source of information.
Here in Kuwait?
Here in Kuwait, in 2021 actually, which was the WhatsApp. And that's where exactly the source of rumors comes.
And misinformation is being transferred. That's why here at the Ministry of Information, we always clarify to only take the news from the correct outlets.
Exactly. Kuwait TV, Kuwait Radio, the Ministry of Information itself, and KONA. That's the most important and credible source of information, especially for during this election, because it might be misleading to go through the social media and you don't know which source of information that to get the information from.
Well, finally, before we end this, I want to ask about the most important media controls for, especially during this season, for media interviews during elections campaigns.
The candidates, they utilized everything. You know, their campaigns, they were differently, and it was through the social media, which is cheaper than the traditional media, and they used ads, trying to get the emotions through different awareness messages, and showing their priority, what's the agenda of a certain thing to boost and enhance a prosper Kuwait. That they used. So I would say most of the candidates, they did a really great job. It's now the voters' choice to choose the right one, and
go ahead with it.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Hussein, for joining us here this morning, and I'm looking forward for our coffee later on.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. That was Dr. Hussein, the head of the Mass Communication Department at Kuwait University. Thank you once again, and now we'll move back to Badriya in her studio.
Thank you, Yusuf. Kuwait's youth are the key to renaissance and the building blocks of civilization as they actively participate in planning and acting for the preservation and development of our dear homeland. As such, state bodies have launched many initiatives to expand the participation of thousands of Kuwaiti youth in the process of comprehensive and sustainable development to assume a leading role in achieving the new Kuwait vision.
Youth are the backbone of every nation and its pillar that nobody can differ on, as they are the wealth of nations and a torch that illuminates its future and extends its ambitions throughout the horizon. This vital human segment, which is the largest in our society, have the great role that is not limited to just one field, but intersects with all social, political, and economic fields and various sectors of development. Despite the most difficult trials they face, Kuwait's young people always tackle challenges and obstacles with vigor that strives for further progress and growth. The topics regarding youth and their empowerment have become the center of focus decades ago, between the impacts of employment and providing job opportunities, as well as education, sports, and health, and their impact on developmental and economical projects. A solution to all of these topics and dilemmas was always being sought to no avail, but the 2035 New Kuwait vision prevailed for the sake of the homeland and has campaigned for the youth with creative development fundamentals in order to build the Kuwait of the new era. And thus a new chapter unfolds entitled Kuwait of Tomorrow, built with support of its youth, as they are the real human capital who would not hold their process of growth and renaissance. That is why government agencies and various state institutions adopted the ultimate goal of youth empowerment and vowed to develop plans to advance the capabilities of the youth and refine their talents. State bodies had launched many initiatives to expand the participation of thousands of Kuwaiti youth in the process of comprehensive and sustainable development to assume a leading role in achieving the new Kuwaiti vision. These numerous projects and initiatives were backed by the generous support of the Homeland's wise leadership, most recently of which was the Professional Entrepreneur Project to empower young entrepreneurs and small and medium enterprises in the promising economic sectors, the Graduate Qualification Program, and the Academy for the Preparation of Young Leaders, among others. These empowering progressive projects were launched by the Public Authority for Youth along with the relevant bodies to help guide them into the path of success and reformation.
أننا نطلب من الجميع إدراك حجم المسؤولية الوطنية الملقاة على عاتقكم في المشاركة الإيجابية في عملية الانتخابات، والحرص كل الحرص على اختيار القوي الأمين المؤمن بربه ثم وطنه، والذي يضع مصلحة الكويت وشعبها فوق كل اعتبار.
The test of selection. Everyone is a winner. Kuwait is first, foremost, and the basis.
The Ministry of Interior preparations are at the forefront of the authorities responsible for organizing the parliamentary elections as it began its early preparations for the 2022 National Assembly elections. Kuwaiti citizens will choose their candidates for the National Assembly with a new voting system, which will be by the civil ID for the first time.
Kuwaiti citizens will vote today to choose their candidates for the National Assembly with a new voting system, which will be by the civil ID for the first time after a decree was issued to approve voting in the National Assembly elections 2022, according to the residential address registered with the civil ID card and a decree to add new areas to the electoral districts. Accordingly, the Elections Affairs Department at the Ministry of Interior stated that on the day of the elections, the voter is required to present the citizenship certificate for stamping and the civil ID card to prove the electoral residence. In the event of losing the citizenship certificate, the Ministry of Interior, represented by the General Administration of Nationality and Travel Documents, states it will receive the voters and they will be given an official certificate enabling them to vote in the National Assembly elections 2022. Additionally, local political reports indicate that the new system for voting in the National Assembly elections will positively affect the electoral votes, given that the address recorded in the civil ID is the electoral place of its owner, and thus the map of voter distribution will change drastically. There are constituencies in which the number of voters will increase, whereas on the other hand, there are constituencies in which the number of voters will decrease because of the change in the electoral schedule and the reliance on the civil ID.
Well, to talk more about the National Assembly elections for the year of 2022 and the government's preparations to organize the electoral process, will join us over the phone Captain Sara Jamil Ali from the General Department of Public Relations and Security Media at the Ministry of Interior. Good morning, Captain Sara.
Good morning to you and to our dear viewers.
Captain Sara, can you please tell us about the important role of the Ministry of Interior electoral process since the issuance of the decree calling for elections until this moment, please?
Yes. According to the directives of His Excellency Acting Prime Minister, Minister of Defense, and Acting Minister of Interior, Sheikh Talal Khalid Al Ahmad Al Jaber Al Sabah, and MOI Undersecretary Lieutenant General Anwar Al-Burgess, the Ministry of Interior prepared its security plan to facilitate the electoral process and ensure its accomplishment safely in a manner that appropriate to the history democratic state of Kuwait. There is a useful coordination between MOI-related sectors and the Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Education to ensure the safety in the halls in which the polling process is carried out and securing also the surrounding area. In addition, the ministry prepared schools, around 118 schools, and five major also schools, and these 5 schools will announce the results from them. Also, the Ministry of Interior is prepared and checked the voters list and put the guide marks for voters to know the voting halls by alphabet letters and take into consideration, of course, all citizens, especially the elderly and people with special needs. The police were stationed since early morning before 8 a.m. on foot, on patrol, to ensure the traffic flow and will secure the election ballot boxes transfer process at evening and take immediate action against any negative practices affecting the electoral process. We want to announce that the voters can inquire the status or their electoral enrollment and the voting location through Sahel application and the Ministry of Interior's official website.
Captain Sarah, Kuwait is voting today, as we all know, based on the decree of urgency 5 for the year of 2022, which amended some provisions of the electoral law. Can you also please shed some light and tell us more about it?
Can you just repeat, please, your question? I can't hear you well.
Yeah, sure. As we all know, that Kuwait is voting today based on the decree of urgency 5 for the year of 2022, which amended some provisions for the electoral law. Correct? And if we can know more about that?
You mean the voting by the nationality certificate?
Sure, we can. If you can just shed some light on that too.
Yes, sure. Now they can vote by the nationality certificate, and in this context, the General Department of Nationality and the Travel Documents Affairs is receiving the citizens from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the GH who are enrolled in the 2022 parliamentary election to issue to whom it may concern certificate if their certificate of nationality is damaged or lost. And the certificate can be used only for 2022 election, and it's valid for this day and purpose only. And their personal appearance is required for the applicant with his or her original civil ID and a photocopy of it, in addition to 4x6 personal photos with a blue background. Also, we wanted to announce that the General Department of Election Affairs receives the citizens' inquiries via the hotline 1-889-888. Again, I will repeat it, 1-889-888. And the electoral process started from 8 a.m. and it will continue, inshallah, until 8 p.m. today evening. And good luck for all.
Thank you so much, Captain Sarah, for joining us and being here this morning. And now we'll go back to Badria with more reports.
Thank you, Yusuf. Now we're heading back to our correspondents who are spread across the country to give us the latest updates from their constituencies, beginning with Sindus El Faraj. Sindus, how are you and what are the latest updates from your constituency? Sindus, can you hear me? We seem to be having some technical difficulties. Sindus, can you hear me? We're having some technical issues. We'll be back in a few minutes.
باسم الله العلي القدير يفتتح الآن أعمال المجلس التأسيسي لدولة الكويت المستقلة.
إننا نعيش الآن في بلادنا نهضة شاملة لم يسبق لها مثيل.
إنني من على هذا المنبر أوجه بالنيابة عنكم تحية وتقدير واحترام لأهلنا في الكويت
حتى نواصل العمل الذي لا يتوقف لخدمة الكويت العزيزة.
لقد تأكدت بأنني من يحمي الدستور ولن أسمح بالمساس به.
مخلصين العمل الجاد لخير ورفعة الكويت وأهلها الأوفياء.
اختيار القوي الأمين الذي يضع مصلحة الكويت وشعبها فوق كل اعتبار.
Thanks for joining us again. If you're just tuning in, we are checking in with our correspondents stationed around Kuwait to give us the latest updates in the different constituencies. Starting with Sindus El Faraj in the second constituency. Sindus, can you give us the latest update from your station?
Good morning, Badri, again, to also those lovely viewers who are tuning with us right now. The moment that everyone is waiting for. And
seems that we're still having some technical issues. Go ahead, Sindus, go ahead and give us an update from your end. Can you hear me, Sundus?
Yes, and this is also the moment that all Kuwaiti men and women, I'm hearing you. Well, our waiting for has finally come, is the day to express your freedom of choice, where everyone is so excited to participate, including myself, of course, in this remarkable, huge event that require you to cast your vote and choose a suitable candidate for the National Assembly, someone who you believe has the highest standards of efficiency, competence, integrity, honorable, trustworthy, and a leader that destined to leave a mark and serve our beloved Kuwait and push it for a better future. So welcome to the National Assembly Election 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm reporting to you live from the 2nd constituency, Al Asadiyah High School for Girls, located in Jabal Ahmed area. I'm here on the spot. As you see, the voting process started at 8 o'clock sharp and will proceed till 8 p.m. at noon, night, I mean. So afterward, nobody comes in or out. And actually, there were people who were lining up before it's 8 o'clock sharp. This is a buzz of spirit we're all looking for. So Badriya, let me give you a 3D view on what's going on right now. Everything is going smooth. People are coming, casting their votes and going out. Easy process. And it's too early to give you the number of votes, but I'll keep you updated later on, inshallah. And also, as we see, we have the governing body who's working with us. We have at the back the judges who are seeing the people who are casting their votes to check, to keep an eye on everything is going on. And we have on my left hand the Ministry of Interior who are securing the place, and there's outside also. And also we have the Red Crescent Society, which are helping to helping people. I mean, for example, the elderly and any disability people who needs help. And also we have we have the Ministry of Information, which is us. We're giving you everything is live to keep you updated what's going on from A to Z. And we hope everyone has the best.
Much Sundus for that update from your constituency. Up next is Mariam Al-Duwaihi, who's stationed in the 4th constituency. Mariam, tell us how your hour has progressed at your station. Go ahead, Mariam. Tell us how, if you can hear me, go ahead.
Good morning again and welcome. Yes, I can hear you now. Right now, again, good morning. We are at the 4th constituency in Jahar Governorate at Al Waha Primary School for ladies, but this polling station is designated for men. It turned out that the turnout for the public is extremely good if you're going to compare it from the beginning at 8 o'clock. It's extremely optimistic, extremely positive. The organization by the Ministry of Interior and Civil Defense is extremely good to provide easy facilitation and entrance and exit to the voters. The polling stations will remain open till 8 p.m. So that it will take enough time for the voters to decide to whom they will vote. As we said, the polling stations will remain open till 8 p.m. We are expecting higher state officials like the Prime Minister to pass by, and also we have in this location Jahar Mayor, Mr. Al-Hajraf. He is somewhere around the location. We also have other state officials, other senior officials from Ministry of Interior looking and following up with the organization procedures. Major General Al-Tawheed just told us that these extreme procedures and unprecedented procedures took by the ministry is only to facilitate the electoral procedure and to provide transparency and fairness to all candidates to reach the parliament.
Thank you, Mariam, for that update. We're moving now to the 3rd constituency. Basma Al-Awadi, can you give us the latest, please?
Hear your question.
Can you give us the latest update in your constituency?
Hello? Absolutely. Good morning, Badriya. I am here in the 3rd constituency in Salah sorry, I couldn't hear. Salah ad-Din Al-Ayubi High School for men, and I've been here since 7 a.m. and 47 candidates have been in this constituency, 39 men and 8 women. Polling stations opened at 8 a.m. So the turnout is still low, but however, it will progress with the day. People can come and make their votes until 8 p.m. tonight. And thanks for the help of the government and all the facilities that are making this easier.
Thank you, Besma, and thank you to all our correspondents for the updates and your hard work. Once again, I would like to remind the audience that the polling stations are open until 8 p.m. This brings us to the end of our early morning live coverage of the 2022 National Assembly elections being held for you in Kuwait. Now, back to you, Yusuf.
Yes, Badriya, true. That's the end of our live coverage for this hour, but not for the rest of the day. With a word of gratitude and appreciation goes out to our guests this morning. Dr. Hussein Murad, the head of the Mass Communication Department at Kuwait University. Also, Mazen Al-Ansari, the Assistant Undersecretary for the Foreign Media Affairs in the Ministry of Information. Also, the Ministry of Interior, Sarah Jamil Ali. And finally, the News Department team for bringing you the reports and the extensive coverage. Please join us again for the next live coverage of the 22 National Assembly elections at 5 p.m.